2016 New England Patriots team fantasy preview, taking a look at, the beloved Patriots, I guess you could say, morely in the Northeast region, and taking a look how they have DFS relevance in their overall 2016 production.
Yeah, absolutely. We're both from Massachusetts. I grew up here. Jason did not. So I lived through my age. I'm 26. So I lived through the rise part of the Patriots. All the people I grew up with had no idea what the pain was from the 80s and 90s. They just know championship after championship after championship. So I dealt with a bunch of crazy Patriots fans growing up. So I hated them at the beginning, but I think after a while I just grew to love Belichick and Brady and how amazing they are. So that's kind of my take on them.
I have a different take just because I'm a Colts, and so it's, I've lived through constantly of them, beating us in the AFC Championship. That was always fun. So
I just remember Corey Dillon just being like, I wanted them to lose every game, and he would just crush. But anyway, on to 2016 here. So in 2015, I think the real storyline and narrative was injuries. The first 8 or 9 games of the season, they utterly dominant, like the best team in the league offensively, just dominant with Dion Lewis, dominant with Julian Edelman. Obviously, Lewis went down, then Edelman went down, and then this team wasn't really the same. But I mean, in terms of that, they should all be back this year,
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's when you get a fully healthy Patriots team, it's tougher. It's almost like there's too many options to go with. And you look at this backfield. I mean, obviously last year, Dion Lewis was a focal point when he was healthy, especially in the passing game. And that's kind of where you expect him to play as long as he is healthy going into this year, to kind of be that pass catching back and kind of split time with Blount there. So overall, I mean, this backfield is still going to be tough to predict on a week-to-week basis, just going by a game flow type standpoint. But it's still going to be pretty pass heavy once Brady comes back.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the game splits in terms of Lewis and Blount. And there are rumors that Lewis might start at least the preseason on the PUP, which is obviously an issue. So that's the storyline to keep an eye on. But in terms of LeGarrette Blount, there are also rumors that he might not make the team, which I'm not buying. If he does, I think we're going to see those games in good matchups, especially the first 4 games where Garoppolo's suspended, that they're just going to try to grind away games. And we're going to see that throughout the year. And hopefully we can do a good job of breaking that down for you if you tune in. But, yeah, against bad run defense, we've seen it before where Blount just goes for 150 yards and 2 and 3 touchdowns. So there are going to be games like that to keep an eye on.
Yeah, certainly. And then, you look at the passing game, and it's obviously Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman are kind of 2 focal points for Brady, obviously, and especially in the red zone. I mean, Gronkowski was a monster down there. And on a week-to-week basis, I mean, he's obviously one of the top tight ends in the league. But I mean, also, I mean, you do have things to look at, like a newly acquired Martellus Bennett. I think that's going to be a really interesting option. And I mean, to me, he's got to be the third option behind those two.
That's pretty exciting to me ever since I heard that happened. Both for Gronk. I'm not worried about Gronk's numbers getting chipped away at by Bennett. I think if anything, that helps. Yeah, he's going to steal a few red zone touchdowns, but if anything, that's just one more guy to cover. I mean, we saw his best season with Aaron Hernandez there. So I think that's a great thing. And then, I mean, you look at Edelman, he's really the only guy there. Amendola is kind of the spot start. If Edelman doesn't come back fully healthy or he gets injured again, we'll look at Amendola in DFS. But really, other than that, I mean, we've been looking for that deep threat in New England for how many years now? And it just doesn't seem to be a big part of their offense, whether someone hasn't developed or whatever. It just doesn't seem to be crucial to their success. So they lost Brandon LaFell, Aaron Dobson's there, Malcolm Mitchell's there, blah, blah, blah. But it's not – I don't see much there, even in terms of GPPs and stuff.
And that's the thing. I mean, the Patriots are always kind of relatively high-priced on a week-to-week basis. And it's something that they're not really – I mean, they are DFS-friendly at times, but it's like when their points per dollar return comes out at the end of the week,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I paid, 7,400 for Gronk. Was it really worth it?
Right.
Maybe. I mean, he kind of has to have those monster weeks to pay that off, which he certainly can. But it's kind of how I view the Patriots. They are just kind of that GPP team. I don't really like going with them in cash game type contests.
The one thing we can say is that they are somewhat predictable with those big run games against bad run defenses. That's the one thing we can take away, regardless of who's back there, whether it was Brandon Bolden or I don't even know who the random guys they've had there the past few years. But whoever that running back is, that power running back, that is a guy to focus on some weeks.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's going to be a thing. And as you mentioned, I mean, especially through the first 4 weeks without Tom Brady. And once they get into those divisional matchups, I mean, I think it is going to be kind of a more ground and pound style at times. But also, we have seen them flip the script around against a team like the Jets where they just throw it and air it out. So it's always one of those things where, Belichick, you go one way, he's going another. That's just the thing with the Patriots. But overall, I mean, I think those secondary pieces are kind of what I'm intrigued with as far as using a Martellus Bennett and obviously Lewis if he's healthy.
Yeah, again, Lewis was electric last year. Don't look at the season long totals. He only played in less than half the season. So per game, he was incredible from a DFS perspective.
Yeah, definitely. And especially on DraftKings with that full point PPR scoring, that's where you kind of really look to use him. So, I mean, overall, should be another kind of dominant year from the Patriots, but not in terms of fantasy. I think more so just on the field, if anything.
Yeah, I think other than Gronk, it's going to be a pretty even split with the rest of them with Bennett and Edelman. So definitely worthy consideration. Some cash game weeks, but overall, you kind of know what you're getting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with this team, I think the biggest thing is, they have dealt with injuries throughout, the past few years. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on throughout the, obviously we don't predict those things, but if a Gronk goes down or an Edelman goes down, we obviously know who kind of steps up into that role.
Right. If a Gronk goes down, you're obviously just cash game Edelman. And if Edelman goes down, you're cash game Gronk. I mean, that's just the way it kind of works.
Yeah, definitely. And this team, I mean, expect them to be a top 10 offense, top 10 defense. And I mean, probably there'll be a couple games on the schedule where they are involved in heavy shootouts too.
Absolutely.
So that's going to wrap it up with our New England Patriots team preview. Be sure to check out all our other teams on our DFC content site.